it's time for some real education. We're going to ignore and at least try to get away from all of this radical sexuality stuff we've been looking at in this show, all the bleeped out nastiness. And we're going to look at the great novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky. Born in 1821, died in 1888. He was the absolute hammer of Marxism. He understood what Marx had done earlier in the decade, in the century, and he was all over exposing Marxism for the garbage that it was. And one of the things that Dostoevsky does in his novels, he uses a lot of anecdotes and short fairy tales and exempla to prove to people what he means, how he's trying to get his message across. There's a great story here about the love of God that Dostoevsky relates through an old wives' tale. It goes something like this. Once upon a time, there was a woman, and she was as wicked could be, and she died. And not one good deed was left behind her. The devils took her and threw her into the lake of fire, and her guardian angel stood thinking, "What good deed of hers could I remember to tell God?" Then the angel remembered and said to God, Once she pulled up an onion and gave it to a beggar woman. And God answered, "Take now that same onion, hold it out to her in the lake. Let her take hold of it and pull. And if you pull her out of the lake on the basis of that onion, she can go to paradise." The angel ran to the woman and held out the onion to her. "Here, woman," he said, "take hold of it and I'll pull." And the angel began pulling carefully and had almost pulled her all the way out when the other sinners in the lake saw her being pulled out, and all began holding on to her so as to be pulled out with her. But the woman was wicked as wicked could be, and she began to kick them with her feet. "It's me who's getting pulled out, not you. It's my onion, not yours." No sooner did she say it than the onion broke, and the woman fell back into the lake and is burning there to this day. And the angel wept and went away. And I ask my university kids all the time when we get to this passage, what's the ultimate significance of this? And they almost never get it. It's a very deep point, right? They talk about forgiveness and they talk about acts of mercy. They talk about retribution and they talk about retribution and redemption, but they never really do quite get one of the main points of the story. That what Dostoevsky is suggesting is that if that was perhaps the only good deed ever done, that this woman ever did in her life, that anybody in the world, and in the history of the world had ever done, was one time to give an onion to a beggar. If that was the only good deed that humanity had on its side of the chart, maybe because of the mercy and grace of God, that onion would have been enough to pull everyone out of the lake, assuming the sinners were able to not be so selfish. It's a very profound observation in one of the world's great books.